Well, the race for the Norwich North by-election is well and truly underway. High-profile visitors, along with party staff and volunteers, have been arriving on every train from London. In all, there are 12 candidates standing. And as we correctly predicted, polling day is July the 23rd. Andrew Sinclair has spent the last week out and about.
Haven't they been busy? All week, the candidates have been pounding the streets and the big names have come up from London. On their agenda, the economy, antisocial behaviour, the environment, helping the elderly. But there's one issue that won't go away.
And they always say that they're here to help, but I haven't really seen nothing that they've done. All I can see is posh buildings getting built for the rich.
Are you impressed with any of the parties?
Not particularly, no.
They're all basically the same.
Will you vote?
No.
It's hard to overestimate the effect that the whole expenses scandal has had on the public's perception of politicians. Many people in Norwich North appear to be disillusioned.
People who are already perhaps not very engaged in politics, it's kind of confirmed all of their worst suspicions about the politicians being in it for themselves, and those headlines, I think, really turn people off.
The Green Party may well be one of the big stories of this by-election. They say they're picking up support at the expense of the main parties because of the whole expenses issue.
Politics in this country is often about the two or three main parties criticising each other and talking about the negative characteristics of their policies. Perhaps we need something which is a bit more visionary and which is about how we could improve society, build a stronger economy and save the planet at the same time. And I think that might be something that people would want to buy into.
And this could be the party that suffers the most. Labour has been keen to talk about its record in government, but it's having difficulty explaining why it deselected Ian Gibson.
He was a very good constituency member and an active person on the national stage. I would count him as a friend, saw quite a lot of him socially in the House of Commons. And I'm very sorry about what's happened.
So as a friend, do you think he was badly treated?
Well, so it's not for me to make a comment about that, but what I can say is...
Sorry, with respect, you're a senior member of the party.
Yes,
you must have a view about whether he was badly treated.
I say the reason I can't is because I've not seen all the details, OK? I mean, that's the very straightforward reason. I've not been into it. It wasn't my locus to go into it. But what I can say is that Ian is backing our candidate.
So we did all this side yesterday.
Chris Ostrowski is working hard to pull in the votes, but will it be enough? Some in the campaign have told us that he's winning people over. Others are already talking about coming third or even fourth.
You still have full confidence in him, do you?
Yes, of course, absolutely.
Do you really believe that he didn't know what was going on?
Until the Andy Coulson story broke, the Conservatives were having an easy ride in this campaign. Plenty of high-profile visits to support their candidate, Chloe Smith. The party's been most stung by Labour's claims of Tory tax cuts. The Shadow Chancellor came to Norwich to confront the claims head-on.
We're going to do everything we possibly can to protect the frontline services that people depend on. You know, I want to see the quality of the education people get, the quality of the healthcare they get, the policing they get, improve under a Conservative government, and we've got plans to reform those services so they do improve. And it will be things like the ID cards scheme, which frankly are a waste of money, which people in Norwich don't want to see, that will be the things that get the axe.
The Liberal Democrats have continued to scrap with the Green Party, accusing it of lying and dirty tricks. They're clearly worried that their candidate, April Pond, may be about to be squeezed.
If you care about green issues, who is going to deliver that for you in Westminster? Is it going to be the Liberal Democrats, who now have more MPs than we ever have done? We got 6 million votes at the last general election, more than any other Liberal party in Europe, and who are the environmental party in British politics? Or do you vote for a party, the Green Party, that has got no MPs whatsoever and can't really create the changes needed, which are urgently needed?
This week, the candidates held their first hustings, a kind of speed dating event where they talked to voters about education issues. There'll be more debates over the next week and a half. Will it be enough to restore confidence and persuade people to vote? Or will the expenses election be remembered for its low turnout?
Well, here with me to discuss the implications of this by-election are Professor Paul Whiteley from the Department of Government at the University of Essex, and joining us from London, Martin Bell, anti-sleaze campaigner, former independent MP and, of course, former BBC journalist. Martin Bell, starting with you, do you believe that this by-election is now all about MPs' expenses?
Yes, I do. Not just about MPs' expenses, it's about public trust in public life. That's the big issue. And the sort of and the treatment of Ian Gibson, who in the opinion of many of us has been scapegoated. And this is the first test of electoral opinion since this whole appalling, disgraceful expenses scandal broke.
Do you believe it will give us a great insight into people's attitudes currently towards politicians in general?
Honestly, I think it's going to be a bit confusing. Because it's one of these elections where all the spokesmen take whatever comfort they can. I mean, there is, for instance, one strong independent standing, Craig Murray, who wasn't even mentioned in your report. A lot of the smaller candidates, independents, the smaller parties, I think are going to benefit from the general sense of disillusionment with politics as usual, which we have seen in such an extraordinary degree in the last 2 months.
Paul Whiteley, what about the state of the parties and how they stand? Do by-elections give us a good insight into that, do you believe?
Yes, I think so. I think the Conservatives are on track to win this. They have to win this by-election if they're going to be successful in the general election next year. I mean, the numbers are roughly this, that in 2005, when Ian Gibson last fought the seat, Labour was 3% ahead of the Conservatives nationally. Now, according to the opinion polls, they're about 11% behind. So a 14% gap has opened up. And that allows the Conservatives to win this seat because Ian Gibson's majority is less than that.
Is it easy to draw, though, national picture conclusions from something which could be based on very local issues?
Sometimes not. That's true. There's always local factors and there are odd circumstances. Martin Bell referred to the expenses scandal, and we don't quite know how that's going to play out. It looks from the polls that Labour and the Conservatives are losing out in relation to the expenses scandals, but the Lib Dems less so. So the Lib Dems might do a bit better than the 16% they got last time in this constituency.
Martin Bell, what about the general disillusionment of the public with politics? Do you believe that people are very, very disillusioned still?
Oh, absolutely. I have never known a time in my life when everybody is talking politics, or rather anti-politics. It took a long time for the politicians to clock this. This is why the accused MPs were saying what we did was within the rules and so on. Well, they've stopped doing that. I mean, Parliament's been in a state of kind of shell shock now for most of the last 2 months. And I think that if this doesn't turn people off politics altogether, it is going to re-engage us. And my personal opinion is that a great deal of good is going to come out of it in Norwich, in Norfolk and elsewhere.
Very briefly, what about clean-up campaigns? Are you impressed by the way things have been going?
Very slow, very slow. It's meeting opposition in the House. Some MPs still don't understand the trouble they're in. I think we've got a long way to go.
All right, we'll leave it there. Martin Bell, Paul Whiteley, thank you both.